Today I want to talk about the Dead Space remake that was made in 2023. And before I talk about it, I want to preface that I've never played the original Dead Space. I have played the Dead Space 2 demo on my PS3 long ago, and I think still up to this day, it's one of the scariest games I have played. I was looking forward to playing this game. I really enjoyed the game, and also from what people have told me and what I read and seen online, people seem to think this is a pretty good remake. There are some small differences. They really fleshed out some stuff more than the original game. For example, there's a character named Cross. I forgot their first name, Elizabeth Cross, maybe. I guess in the original game, the only way you really interact with them and see them is through like audio calls, but in the Dead Space remake, they're like an actual character inside the game. It causes the story to be a little bit different. I don't know exactly how it goes in the original. There's maybe a little bit of a twist in here, so that's pretty cool. Also, in this game, Isaac has dialogue. I guess in the original Dead Space, Isaac doesn't say anything, but in this game, they have him like talking and stuff. And I guess they use the same voice actors like Dead Space 2 and 3. So it's cool to see that they like gave him like some dialogue in this, and it like fits into the world as well. Aside from just modernizing like the game a little bit more, they kind of make it so that you can like, you find weapons and their parts and upgrade parts, because I believe I saw somewhere that in the first game, like to buy weapons you just go to the shop and buy them, but like in this game you have to actually find them, which helps the game feel more immersive. And also they lean into like the spookier side of Dead Space a little bit more, so it's not graphically like exactly the same. Like the graphics look better and they made the game more spooky. They've also updated like the dismemberment and like the body part system they use for when you're fighting the necromorphs, which the necromorphs are like, the zombies, infected people that you fight. Instead of like just cutting off whole parts of them, you can still cut off parts of the necromorphs, but it's like layers. They have layers of flesh that will come off when you're like shooting them with the cutter. Anyway, to get into it, this game is a third-person action adventure horror game. You start off as Isaac Clarke, who is part of this ship called the Kellion, I think. Him and his crew, they go to the Ishimura. I forgot which one. I think it's Ishimura. I keep saying it wrong, sorry. They're trying to contact with it. They can't make contact, so then they're like, okay, we gotta dock and figure out what's going on here. So they get in, and also Isaac Clarke's girlfriend, fiance or whatever, was stationed on this ship. Before they end up docking, you see Isaac is looking at this video message from Nicole Brennan, who is his partner. She's like left a message for him about how things have been and stuff. He gets a short video message. He's kind of reminiscing about her, like wondering how she's doing. And then he gets there. He's like, oh, like hopefully I can find her. Then they get into the Ishimura. Isaac, Hammond, Daniels, and I think the other crewmates are like there's Chen and Johnston. So Isaac's the engineer. Daniels is like a tech specialist or something. Hammond's the captain. Johnston's like the pilot or something, and then Chen's like security officer. They all dock in the Ishimura, and then they're trying to investigate what's going on. They send Isaac to go figure out what's going on with like the controls and stuff, since he's the engineer, and Isaac gets separated. And then all of a sudden these monsters start attacking the crew, and Isaac's kind of stuck in this isolated area, and you see through the window like Hammond, Daniels, and Chen are getting attacked and stuff by these like zombie kind of looking things. They call necromorphs in the game. They kill Chen, and then Hammond and Daniels make it out, and then it goes on from there. Gameplay wise, I think the game's pretty good. Like, it's third person. It kind of makes sense for it to be third person because Isaac's like health and like stasis and kinesis like energy meters are on his backpack, which is pretty cool. But you go around, you get different kinds of weapons. The weapons I used a lot, I really like the plasma cutter. I think that's like the signature of the game because it's like it shoots plasma, and it's used to mainly like dismember the necromorphs. There's like the automatic rifle I used a lot. There's like the saw blade one I used. Oh, the saw blade one is the Ripper. The rifle is the pulse rifle. There's also like a contact beam. I think that one was the laser. And then there's like a flamethrower, which is cool because you can like burn stuff. It's pretty handy. And there's some other cool guns. But those are the main ones I used on my first playthrough. I ended up doing 2 playthroughs. One on normal difficulty and one on New Game Plus later on hard difficulty, so I could get the alternate ending, because the remake has an alternate ending on New Game Plus, which I will tell you about later. There's also like the line gun, There's a force gun, so those are pretty cool. I guess there's a hand cannon, but you have to be the game on like impossible mode to unlock that. On impossible difficulty, like it's like permadeath basically. So I didn't really get around to seeing that, but I've seen it's in there. One cool mechanic Isaac can use is he gets this like stasis module and kinesis module, which are kind of fun to play around with because it plays around with the physics of the game. So the stasis holds things in place, so you can use it for like doors that are like closing rapidly. You can use it to slow them down or even slow enemies down. And you also get kinesis, which is a way for Isaac to like grab objects and hold them from far away. So it's like telekinesis. So you can like grab a pipe off the wall and then like shoot at a necromorph to like slam it and like, you know, get it stuck in a wall and just throw objects in general or just move objects. Oh my god, dude, it does bounce. Let's go. I want to kill something with it. Oh, fuck. Oh my god. Oh, fuck. Oh, fuck. Oh. I'm pressing the wrong button. I was pressing F. Holy shit. Dude, the ball does no damage. What the heck, bro? Why didn't anyone tell me? It might do a little damage, but it practically did nothing. I think the horror aspects of the remake are pretty good. Again, they seem to have leaned more into it in the remake than in the original. The atmosphere is pretty spooky. Like the game's kind of all around spooky, keeps you on edge kind of all the time because you just never know like where the enemies are gonna come after you from. And even when you do know, you don't really know. Oh my fuck! Oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh my fuck, oh god. Oh god. Oh god. Okay. I can't trust any of these vents. Apparently it's like a little randomized, so each run through, like they don't come at you from the same spots each time, but it's like, you know they're gonna come through the vents, but there's vents in front of you, there's vents behind you, there's vents above you, there's vents to your left, to your right, you know, and they're kind of ruthless with the enemy placement in this game because you could be walking forward and one guy pops out in front of you and you start shooting him, and then at the same time another guy pops out behind you and then he gets you when you're trying to fight the first guy. They do a good job of keeping you on edge, I think. It's a bathroom I just went through. Oh my fuck! What the hell? What? Oh my god, bro. Oh my god. Is the big dude gonna show up? Oh. Oh, what the fuck? What? Dude, where did he come from? But yeah, the atmosphere is pretty good and like the ambiance, and it's like you can very much feel how eerie and creepy it is. I think the soundtrack to the game helps with that too, like the music. I can't personally think of like any like standout music that was like, oh yeah, this shit slaps off the top of my head. But I do recall the music kind of playing into the game and complementing it pretty well to provide that eeriness and ambiance that the game needs for it to like really keep you on your toes, you know, and like always be suspicious. Graphically, it looks really good too. Like the lighting's pretty good. Visually, like you're on a space station, which is sick. There's like a tram system in the game, which I read was in the original game too, but I guess that was the only way for
transport
in the original game, whereas in the remake, the tram system is a form of transport, but also you can travel outside the spaceship to get to certain parts, which is kind of fun. I always love when games let you like go outside the space station. The enemies are pretty scary, like all of them are kind of gnarly. There's like the standard necromorphs, you know, they turn, their bones are all out and they're like coming at you, they crawl at you and shit, and they throw stuff at you. And there's like the little baby guys with tentacles that shoot stuff at you, and there's a bunch of different kinds of enemies. Yeah, and then there's like variations of them, of some of the enemies, but they're all pretty freaky. The like environments in the game really play into it too, because some of the environments get really like grotesque, like gross. The game has some pretty cool lore. Like as you're going through the story, you start to figure stuff out, but there's also like audio logs and also like holograms you can find, which from my understanding, some of the holograms or even some of the dialogue, they used to be audio calls you would find or audio recordings you would find, but now they made it into like holograms, which is cool because it shows like a little bit more of the story. There's like, you know, classified info and stuff you find, so you find out more about the lore of the game, about like the marker that is like the thing that's kind of creating the necromorphs, the unitologist cult that's been forming like in the ship and even, you know, before the ship of the Ishimura. And the game isn't very long. I think my first playthrough took me about like 16 hours ish, and my second playthrough took me like maybe a little bit less. I was playing on hard difficulty on my second, and it was New Game Plus, so you keep all your upgrades. It was harder. It wasn't really that much harder. I just had better weapons, you know, than if I'd played it off like fresh on hard. New Game Plus was still cool because then I got to like buy more of the upgrades that I didn't the first time around, and like fully upgrade my suit and my guns, and also like try out some more of the other guns that I didn't use like in my initial playthrough, because like I said, I was mostly using the plasma cutter and like pulse rifle, stuff like that, the Ripper, flamethrower, contact beam. And so I was putting most of my upgrades into those and into my suit. I was trying to make those strong so I could have a strong base. The upgrade process for the weapons is interesting. You can get a weapon and then you can upgrade. There's like certain trees. There's like upgrade paths you can take for the weapons. Specific upgrades for the weapon, like especially ones that are really big, like for the plasma cutter, there's an upgrade that makes it so that when you hit something, it starts burning its flesh. To get that upgrade, you have to like find the part in the game world, which is kind of fun. It doesn't let you like upgrade everything right away, so some stuff you still have to like find parts for the good upgrades, like the really good stuff that like kind of modify the weapons a little bit, which I didn't really mind because I would like upgrade my plasma cutter and be like, oh, I don't have more upgrades to get for this really. So then I would just like move on, upgrade another weapon because there's plenty of upgrades to get, or like upgrade my suit some more. Navigating to the Ishimura isn't too bad either because you can get the map to pop up really easy, and usually the game shows you where to go for stuff. There's like main quests you do, and then there's like some side quests as well, and you can like find the rigs, the like dead crewmates and stuff like that. There's a couple mini games that you come across. One of them is zero gravity basketball. In that one, you enter the zero gravity chamber and a ball comes out and you have to send it into the right hole. There's like 4 colored holes. There's like a red, green, blue, yellow hole, and it like lights up showing you which hole you have to throw the ball into. And so each time you score, you get a point. And basically you can do this to get a high score, and there's like rewards for it if you get a high enough score. There's like different tiers based on your score of rewards you can get, which is pretty cool. That one was pretty fun. And then there's another mini game which is like a shooting gallery, which I also was enjoying doing. I was trying to get a high score on that one, but you get attacked by a bunch of necromorphs like in the middle of it. Then it makes it kind of hard to do the shooting gallery, and then it ends and you're not able to do it again, which kind of sucks because I wanted to try and get a high score on that one, but whatever, man. One really cool thing about the game is the level design. It's basically all just one continuous level, so everything's connected together, and there's no like loading screens or cutscenes really. It's all like just based off your perspective. So like when you're in the tram, that's kind of when the game like loads into places, but like you're still in game the whole time. So as soon as you start the game, it doesn't cut out anywhere to like load or do a cutscene. Like all the cutscenes are still like while you're in third person as Isaac, and same when you're traveling through the tram. It helps make the transition between different levels and cutscenes seamless. And that makes exploring the ship pretty fun because you can really see how like everything is laid out and like put together. on the ship. Yeah, I thought the game was pretty good. I enjoyed it enough. I played it a second time. It was still just as spooky the second time, even though like you have stronger weapons, you can power trip a little bit, which is kind of fun. When you play New Game Plus in the remake, I mentioned there's an alternate ending, and the way to unlock that alternate ending is there's 12 like small marker fragments hidden across the game. And so basically you just have to find those. They're not that hard to find. They're all in the Ishimura. So before the end of the game, when you leave the Ishimura, you have to find all 12, and then you put them down on this table in the crew quarters, and then you do the last chapter and finish the game. You end up seeing the alternate ending as well. Difficulty wise, like I think there were some challenging parts in the game, but it wasn't like most of it wasn't too hard. Probably the most challenging parts are like bosses. They're not exactly bosses, they're kind of like bosses or mini bosses you fight here and there. One of them, like I kept trying to kill, but you have to like kill him in an unconventional way. After you hit him enough times, you're like, oh shit, this isn't working. And then you gotta try other stuff, you know. There's one boss you fight, the Leviathan. He can be difficult to fight just because of the setting of the game. It's not exactly like you're running around like you are most of the game. You're like kind of have to fight him in zero gravity, which can be a little difficult. But yeah, I think I'd recommend this game. If you were a fan of Dead Space, I think it's good. So if you liked the first game or just like Dead Space in general, from what I've seen, there's some changes to it, and the consensus is that the remake has been improved upon from the original material. So even if you played the original Dead Space, I still think it's worth playing because there is going to be some new content and maybe some new changes to the story that may help keep the experience refreshing. Even if you are not familiar with Dead Space or haven't played the games, I still think it's worth playing. It's a pretty good game overall. I just think it's pretty solid. I had a good experience. It's good. It's good action. It's good horror. It's interesting. I think especially when you start getting into the cult stuff, it really keeps you on your toes. It's pretty exciting. It makes me want to play Dead Space 2 and even 3, dare I say. I've heard that one's not good, but I'm looking forward to seeing what else this series has to offer. All right, now I'm going to try and get into the story a little bit. So, spoiler warning. As I said previously, the game starts off with Isaac and his crew. They're going to the Ishimura to do like a wellness check or something like that. Nicole Brennan, Isaac's partner, wife, girlfriend, I don't remember, is on the ship. She's a doctor there among like some of the other doctors or scientists. She has kind of an important role in the story. Before they dock on the Ishimura, Isaac is watching this video log that Nicole Brennan recorded for him and just kind of saying like how things have been for her. So the crew notices they can't really communicate with Ishimura. They dock. Hammond, Clark, Chen, and Daniels all go out to explore. Johnson stays back on the ship. They get attacked by the necromorphs. Chen gets killed, and then the others are kind of there to fend off for themselves. Isaac kind of has to go around through the ship. He has to like open up the tram system and check the communication relays and stuff like that. After you repair the tram, it helps you like get around the ship a little bit easier, and you try to meet up with your crew again. Daniels and Hammond are still kind of like not able to meet up with you, but then you go back to the ship. Johnson is there. You're trying to like talk with them and tell them like, oh, there's something weird going on, and then you see that so like some necromorphs get into the ship's like cores or something, and then the ship blows up, and then Johnson dies. And then Isaac's like, what the fuck? And then you get attacked by some like necromorphs. Again, this whole time, like you're kind of curious. You're like trying to make contact with Nicole Brennan. After the tram, Isaac goes around some more. He finds out that there's like the Captain Matthias of the Ishimura. He was sent with this ship, the Ishimura, which is like, it's a planet cracking ship. So they use it to like break open planets. Other characters that are important are like Dr. Kine, who's also a scientist, and Mercer, who's like second in command. As you go through the game, you kind of realize that there's some more going on. There's some underlying stuff going on. There's unitologists here. Most of the crew is unitologists. And the thing about the Unitologists is they like worship this thing called the marker, and they're all really weird. And it turns out Isaac's parents used to be Unitologists, and that kind of fucked him over a little bit. And as you go through, like Daniels and Hammond are trying to help you out and like meet up with you here and there. You trying to find out about Nicole Brennan or like follow her trace. You find out that she was kind of in conflict with what's going on the ship because Dr. Kine was doing like experiments on like some of the people there. They like brought someone from Aegis 7, which is the planet they got the marker from. The thing about Aegis 7 is it's where they use the planet cracker ship on, so they cracked the planet. They like pull out the marker or something from there. And then like the colony they had on Aegis 7 went mad and everyone killed each other except for one person. And then they brought this one person back on the ship to the Ishimura. And so like Brennan was like a therapist or psychologist, so she was like trying to study this guy. But then there's Dr. Kine who's like trying to like do experiments on them and try and see what triggers them. And so she was kind of like, oh, like they keep trying to get him. Like there's something weird going on here, you know. And she was really not vibing with it, with what the people there were trying to do. As it goes through, you know, you fix more stuff here and there. He's trying to get like the defense systems online. He's just trying to repair the ship because he's the engineer after all. At some point, one of the necromorphs that is attacking has the face of Chen, so you're like, oh, what the heck? Like he got reanimated. That's weird. The scanners report like a giant entity. It was like in the food storage area and it was like contaminating food, or maybe it was in the hydroponics, I can't remember. And you go in and that's where you fight the Leviathan, so that's in 0G area. And it's basically just this giant thing of flesh and it has these tentacles and it attacks you. And basically you have to defeat it, and then once you like damage it enough in the right spots, it's like covering this thing that opens up to space, like this vacuum seal. You are able to open it up and then it flies out and you're like, oh thank god, like I dealt with that. At some point you have to like plant a like SOS beacon on an asteroid so that and send it out so that people can know that there's like things have gone haywire on this ship. Again, this whole time you're fighting necromorphs, like they're just coming alive. You find out more about the Unitologists. They're like extremely cult-like. You find out about Elizabeth Cross, who I forgot what they did on the ship, but they were like they did something important, and then they had their partner Jacob Temple, who was also like trying to do stuff. I think Temple was like a engineer. Yeah. One thing that you notice from like the holograms and audio calls and just talking to some of the other characters in the game is they start talking about like, oh, making us whole again, which is a thing they say. And it's a little unsettling sometimes. You see Nicole Brennan at some point, you meet up with her. She's talking to Isaac about like, oh, we can do this and this. And she looks a little uncanny. When you stop talking to her, she's like, oh yeah, we can do this, so that'll make us whole again. And then you're like, whoa, dude, like that was a little sus, bro. And then while you're doing all this, Daniels is like doing security, like hacking stuff or whatever. And Hammond is like snooping around and he sees a bunch of cultists in the crew quarters. He's like, they're worshiping the marker, you know? And there's like blood and writing on the wall everywhere. And you find out people went mad on this ship too, not just on Aegis 7. You find Hammond. It turns out he found Chen's necromorph and locked him in like a escape pod. And then he launched the escape pod away because he doesn't want to kill Chen. And you're like, bro, what the heck? Like, just kill him. Like, that's not Chen anymore. He's like, I can't, it's Chen. Yeah, that's what Hammond is doing. Daniels accuses Hammond of, like, knowing about the marker the whole time, and Hammond's like, oh, like, I didn't know, like, but he might have known, but he's like, I don't know, he might have known. That escape pod ends up going out, and then, like, it's sending out a beacon, and then, like, another ship ends up finding the escape pod with Chen, and they're like, oh, we rescued him, da 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 da. You hear them a little bit, but the signal's not strong enough. You're trying to repair the comms array so that you can contact this ship before they like crash into you and be like, no, don't open the space escape pod or whatever. And then you're like, oh, that's weird. It seems like there's a weird mass or something hanging like outside on the comms array. And then you like go out to see what's wrong with the comms array, like outside of the space station. And it turns out the Leviathan is still there, so like a little piece of its flesh like hung onto the comms array, and that's why they can't contact anything. So now it's even fucking bigger because it's just been absorbing like so much flesh and shit. And now you have to fight again. It's Leviathan 2 that you have to fight, and you're in space. This time, like you're in the vacuum instead of like being in a zero G area in the space station. This time you get to use these like ADS turrets that you turned on earlier to like destroy asteroids so the asteroids don't hit the ship. So you have to use these like defense turrets. That fight's alright. It's a little hard. Mostly because like the oxygen, it's not like super hard, but I think like impossible difficulty, I could see the Leviathan fights being kind of like a point that would kill me personally, you know? You end up defeating the Leviathan and then it doesn't have anything to hold on to, so you get rid of it for good. That ship crashes into the Ishimura basically, because those guys are coming in to check on the Ishimura also. And then you have to like go into their ship and you find out they have like a nuclear warhead in there because apparently they were supposed to blow it up because they knew shit was going wrong there, but Chen killed them all. So the ship goes into lockdown, so they have to like deactivate the nuclear warhead in order to like open up the lockdown. Hammond asks you to take the singularity core from the Valor or in order to use the executive shuttle, which is missing its singularity core, which is why it hasn't departed the Ishimura yet. Isaac and Hammond both show up together to get the singularity core. Chen, who's infected and a necromorph now, shows up behind him and then like stabs Hammond, and then Hammond just kind of tosses both of them into the core and killing both of them. Isaac then starts taking the singularity core back to the executive shuttle so that they have a functioning ship to leave the Ishimura with. And then at this point, it's only Isaac and Kendra Daniels who are like alive from the original crew, which their numbers are definitely dwindling. Dr. Kine is starting to have doubts about all this too. He's kind of starting to doubt the marker. He sees that it's making people go insane, the marker they pulled up from Aegis 7. Dr. Kine has like a conscience, so he's actually like, oh, like maybe this isn't a good thing, guys. You find out there was a mutiny as Kine and two officers confront Captain Matthias, who states the marker must be delivered to the church whatever the cost. Kine says the Ishimura is in crisis and Matthias has cut them off and declares Matthias unfit for duty. Matthias then calls Kine a heretic. He gets aggressive, which Kine then orders the two officers to restrain him while Kine gets a sedative ready, saying that Matthias hasn't been himself lately, implying that the marker has been influencing him. Matthias struggles to get out of the officer's hands, but eventually breaks free and runs into Kine, whose sedative needle unintentionally gets lodged into Matthias's eyeball, accidentally killing him. They all freak out. Kine says he was trying to help him and then runs away as the two officers accuse him of killing Matthias and that they have to take him in. Mercer takes over. Then it's like Mercer's at odds with Kine. You see Mercer sometimes, he sends up these like beefed up goons after you. He's trying to fight against you because he knows you're trying to stop it. He's basically, he's full on cultist at this point. Like, he's trying to do what the marker wants him to do. He's trying to make more necromorphs and shit. You come across Temple confronting Mercer, saying that he built Mercer's shit and that it didn't work and that he won't allow Mercer to hurt anyone else. Temple starts to point his force gun towards Mercer, which then prompts Mercer to put Temple in stasis and start pointing his own gun at Temple. Isaac sees this and calls for Mercer, in which they start having a little chit chat about convergence and some other stuff that's going on. And at the end of the chat, Mercer shoots Temple, mentioning how dying in stasis is a slow death, and he leaves. And then one of his goons breaks some glass to come after you. It's interesting to see that Kine and Mercer are essentially polar opposites of each other. Kine has completely lost faith in unitology and feels guilty about the creation of the necromorphs, so he gets Isaac's help to try and stop the outbreak, whereas Mercer has become an even more zealous unitologist and actively tries to help the necromorphs by creating new versions like the Hunter and attempting to kill Isaac. Kine, he ends up contacting you while you're like disabling the warhead. He's like, hey, like I have an idea. I think we need to return the marker back to Aegis 7 and put it back on the pedestal, because once we took it off the pedestal and brought it to the ship, that's when things started going wrong and going haywire. Like the marker is kind of the source of people going insane and these necromorphs going crazy. The marker talks to people like telekinetically or like somehow. The way the marker like makes the necromorphs is it like reanimates like dead tissue or something, or like dead things, and so it kind of becomes in some areas in like amalgamations of like flesh start forming, and that's also how it's been like poisoning some areas and like getting their food supply or their air and oxygen and stuff. At this point, you're like, okay, like Kine seems to be helpful, so I'll work with him. You're trying to find Kine, and you go to the crew quarters to get to the bridge, because that's where you're like supposed to meet kind. And like as you're going through the crew quarters, like the crew quarters look insane because there's all these like dead people around. Like they went full on like cult suicide there, and you find out people are trying to do this thing like called convergence, where like they're trying to donate their bodies and like give their dead bodies to the marker, basically all the unitologists. And you also find out that the ship, the Ishimura, had a bunch of dead bodies on it in the first place that they're trying to bring here, which is also kind of nuts. Kind says you need to take the pedestal, so you go and try and take the pedestal, and then Mercer tries to stop you again, and then a giant tentacle comes and like grabs Mercer and like kills him with the marker, even though Mercer is like trying to be on the same side as the marker because the thing doesn't care. It just, it's taking bodies. You end up using some like zero gravity to like try and get the marker into the ship so that you can take it to Aegis 7. You finally get it in there, and then Dr. Kine is there, and you meet him up with him at the ship, and he's like, "Oh, Isaac, you're here. Like, let's go do this thing." And then Daniels shows up. Daniels shoots Dr. Kine, killing him right there in front of the ship in front of you. And then you're like, "What the heck, Daniels? What'd you do that for?" And then she's like, "Oh, I'm actually a secret government agent from EarthGov, and I'm here to stop this." So she's been like a spy this whole time. She's like, "Oh, my goal here was to like cover this up basically and make sure none of this happens again." This is also where Daniels reveals that Aegis 7 was a big government experiment and that the marker was a replica built by humans and planted there hundreds of years ago. She says they found the first marker in a crater on Earth, and that one was actually alien, enough so to inspire unitology. The humans reverse engineered the red marker and tested it on Aegis 7. They buried all records of it until the CEC set up an illegal mining colony and accidentally rediscovered the marker. So she escapes with the ship that has the marker and tries to fly away, and then you're like, "Oh man, like what do I do now?" Nicole Brennan contacts you and she's like, "Oh, actually there's a way to recall the ship. You have to go do this thing and then like into the control room and then like get the ship to come back." So then you go and do that, and then you call the ship back, and then Daniels gets pissed at you. She's like, "What the hell, man?" She leaves that ship with the marker through an escape pod, and then you get the ship back and you get the marker back, and then you are ready to go to take the marker to Aegis 7. You take the ship with the marker and you're headed to Aegis 7 with Nicole Brennan. You get there, you put the pedestal down. You gotta move the marker around to get it to the pedestal, so there's like some malfunctions and stuff on Aegis 7, like in the area they're in, because the colony has been wiped. No one's been there for a long time. As you get the marker to the pedestal, Daniel shows up. It turns out from her escape pod, she was able to make it to Aegis 7 to try and stop you. And she has Nicole Brennan as a hostage. She has Nicole Brennan, gun pointed to her head, and being like, "Isaac, you have to stop this, blah, blah, blah," And Isaac's like, "What do you like, come on, like, we got to put this back." And then she's like, "You're being lied to this whole time." And you're like, "What do you mean?" And then she shows you the video log from Nicole Brennan that Isaac sees in the beginning of the game. Isaac watches it again. For the most part, it's the same video log, except now it goes on a little bit longer than in the beginning of the game when Isaac originally watched it. In this extra part of the video log, what happens is that Nicole says everything's kind of going to shit and she doesn't think she can make it. So she ends up injecting herself with something, and then like a serum, and she ends up killing herself. And so it turns out that Nicole Brennan has been dead this whole time. And then you're like, "How could that be? She's right there in front of me. Like, I've been talking to her." She points out that this person she's holding hostage, who you thought was Nicole Brennan, is actually Elizabeth Cross the whole time. Both of you have been so delusional and affected by the marker, because the marker gives people like psychosis and stuff and like delusions, that Isaac thought that was Nicole Brennan because he was really trying to find Nicole Brennan, and Cross thought that Isaac was Jacob Temple because she's been looking for him. So they both saw each other as their like lovers. And now that Daniels has revealed that they're not, the illusion is broken, and you see that that's actually Cross, and you're like, "Oh my god!" Like that's where the real mindfuck happens, And she's like, "Get fucked," basically. And she's basically like, "Hey, like you've been getting fucked with this whole time." And then she ends up shooting Cross after she reveals that, because no one can fucking live in this world. At this point, the marker is at the pedestal, and you're just trying to like, get away. As you're trying to get away, Daniels shows up to try and stop you. She's trying to run to the escape ship that you came with so that you can't get there, so that you have to stay, so that Isaac has to like stay on the Aegis 7. And then as she's trying to run to it, a giant tentacle comes out and it slams her. So she also ends up dying. And then this giant beast comes out at the very end out of this hole in the ground that was made from the planet cracker. At this point, it's just Isaac alive. He's the only person alive in this whole story. And now he has to fight this giant ass, like a worm beast that came out of the ground. This beast is like throwing shit at you and like poisoning things like the floor. And then there's more necromorphs coming after you. And I guess it was sent by the marker. I'm not sure if the beast is like communicates through the marker, if the marker communicates to the beast, but they're related and somehow they work as one thing, just as all the necromorphs kind of work as one like hive mind. The fight isn't like super hard, but it can be like a little overwhelming just because there's so much going on. The giant worm monster with tentacles takes Isaac with his tentacle, and then it's like about to put Isaac in its mouth. Isaac has to like shoot its weak spot or something, and then he ends up defeating the monster and it goes away. And then Isaac runs and he gets to the ship. He leaves Aegis 7, escaping, and he leaves the marker there. Again, because Kyne said that the only way to stop all the bad stuff from happening is putting the marker back. Isaac leaves. The giant piece of like ground or whatever that the Ishimaru was holding falls onto the planet, like causing a giant explosion. Whatever it was that they took out of the planet like falls back into it. And then this is where you see the ending. Isaac is all alone in his ship. He's like far away enough from what happened. I think he's like recording a log and he's like talking, and then he starts hearing some voices in his head, and he hears like Nicole being like, "Oh, I just wish I had someone to talk to," because that's what she said in the video logs. And then all of a sudden she shows up next to him and she like kind of attacks him in like a jump scare kind of way. This is basically how the game ends. And then there's like the alternate ending, so you have to go through New Game Plus, collect all the 12 like marker fragments. They're just like little tiny marker statues. Put them on a table in the crew quarters to finish their like cult shit, that whatever the fuck they're doing. And then you go to Aegis 7, beat the final boss. Basically, the ending cutscene is different. In this cutscene, after Aegis 7 blows up and Isaac is a safe distance away, Isaac is finishing his video log or whatever. There's a bunch of like writing and stuff on the ship now, like crazed writing. And then you see him like talking to Nicole Brennan, who's like behind him. She walks up to him. They're like, "Oh, we're so good now. Like we can be whole again now." It's basically implying that like, the marker like took over his mind. Basically, he's gone delusional for sure now. He gave into the marker. And I like the contrast between the two endings, because the original ending, like everything's so dark and they get jump scared, but the other one where he like gives into the marker, like the lighting's like super light and it's like a more happy ending. Like Isaac is like happy. I was watching like a video playback of it, and like people in the comments were like, "Oh, the most uncanny thing is Isaac being happy for once." Like that thing is the most unsettling thing in Dead Space, which which I thought was pretty funny. Hopefully, I explained that all right. I know it's kind of all over the place, but it's been a while, so I thought the Dead Space remake was pretty good. Solid remake. I'm glad they are like pretty faithful and they added stuff, like they made it better. If you've never played Dead Space, it's good. If you've played Dead Space, it's still pretty good. I think I would definitely recommend it. If you like action games, horror, third person, space, dead things, all of the above. Thank you all for watching. Excuse my rambling. I hope you enjoyed this, and peace out.